BDR, the big mover of the day, halted. News pending. What's going on? I'm going to talk about this stock here, BDR. We talked about it all morning in the pre-market live stream. We talked about the best entries and all that fun stuff. But I'm going to talk about what's going on with the stock, the move, and everything like that. I'm also going to show you how to find out about a stock when it's halted and find out what the codes are when they do get halted. What's a T1 HALT? What's a T1 HALT? What is going on here with BDR? If you're stuck in this trade, I'm kind of interested to find out how many people on YouTube who are day trading actually are stuck inside this trade. And maybe, if you did buy it, let me know where you bought it at and sold it, because I just want to kind of figure out, like, what was your overall thought process here on BDR? We're going to talk about it here in this video, so make sure you guys stay tuned. All right. So looking here at BDR this morning, we talked about it live on YouTube. I was live on YouTube for hours since 8:30. I'll be live every morning at 8:30 a.m. till around 11 a.m. So if you guys haven't tuned in for that, make sure you tune in for that. But here we are, BDR this morning, the breakdown. What's going on with this stock? It's halted currently. Big halt. It's not good. Not a good halt. This is not like a volatility halt. This is a bad halt. And I'm going to show you guys here where you can find it. How can you find halts? First thing, all you need to do really is just go right to the NASDAQtrader.com, or you just go to Google and just type in NASDAQ halts. Not rocket science. You don't need anything. You don't need to spend a lot of time here. You just literally go to Google and you type it in and you can pull it up right there. It'll show BDR halted there at 9:58. Currently, there's no resumption time. Now, normally when a stock gets halted for a volatility halt, it'll be between 5 minutes and 10 minutes. But today, BDR was halted multiple times for volatility, but then out of nowhere, as we were watching it, it just got halted and it stopped trading. And I was like, well, it's not a volatility halt. It must be a news halt. And that's exactly what it ended up being. So there is news pending. If you go here, it'll show the reason that it's halted being a T1 HALT. So if you go over here, trading halt codes, if you look, T1 means halts, halt, news pending. So that's the news on BDR. It's halted today. Really, there wasn't anything particular, anything crazy news-wise on BDR to justify this move this morning. As you can see, if you go here using the Trade Idea scanner, I just pulled this up really quickly. There really is no news other than the news that senior management buys more shares. So, yeah, about that, okay? Now, first off, let's talk about BDR from just a trading standpoint, simple trading standpoint. This morning, the pre-market high was right there at about $2. We'll call it, $2. We'll say $1.90, right? So this morning, $1.90, the thing gets going, and I'll show you kind of how we are looking at it. So this morning, it popped above the VWAP, it pulled back, and then it opened, it held the VWAP again, squeezed up there, got above that resistance, it pulled back to that resistance, like we love to see that happen, where it breaks through resistance, being that 190, which was that pre-market high at that point. It breaks over that pre-market high, it pulls back to that pre-market high resistance area, turns that area into support, and then goes to the moon. One thing that I want to make clear here is how we've talked about this before in other videos as well. What's going on with this stock? Talk about it. Let's talk about it. First off, it broke over the pre-market high. It's over the VWAP. It's on top of the VWAP. It's over the VWAP, right? So at open, it gets above the VWAP. It holds above the VWAP. It squeezes up, breaks through that pre-market high, and then it's off to the races. I went back and I looked for 2 weeks. Obviously I can go back further than 2 weeks, but I went back for 2 weeks and I looked at all the top gainer stocks. I looked at all the stocks that were popping up on the gapper list in the morning. Now today, again, BDR on the top of the gapper list. Now when I went back and I looked, I saw a couple things. Stocks that were normally opening up below the VWAP, as long as they didn't break back above the VWAP, they would normally just kind of fade and give it up and just kind of bleed out on the day. Now, some of the stocks that would get back above the VWAP and look strong above the VWAP they did have potential, but the recipe for a really good overall move, like the simple, I guess, I don't want to say the simple recipe, but the real ingredients to this recipe of having a big move came down to two things. The number one was being above the VWAP, and number two, did the stock break above the pre-market high? Above the pre-market high shows one thing, that we're getting through that resistance. Buyers are then stepping in and it's squeezing. Now, I was not a huge fan of BDR today because of the overall price action. It was just very kind of choppy. It did make a big move. We talked about it during the live stream. Like, if you're going to be buying this thing, you want to get in early. You want to take profits early. Because at that point, it was already up almost 200% on the day. So it's like, how much further can this go? Obviously, stocks can always go higher. At the end of the day, stocks can always go higher, right? If you buy it at $2 and you sell for a profit at $2.30, awesome. You made 30 cents. It goes higher. It happens. But that just becomes an issue with FOMO in general. And now we can see, if we look as the market opened, we pulled back to $2. We're above the VWAP. We broke above the pre-market high. It's off to the races. And you can see it pretty much did that. It squeezed up here to the $3 area, which is interesting because look at this, right? It breaks over the it breaks that pre-market high and then gets up there to $3 resistance. It gets halted. And look at this candle here. It dropped all the way down there to $2.53 out of that halt and then squeezed up all the way up here to $3.67 with a high of $3.80. And now that $3.30 area has been acting as support. And then all of a sudden, magically, the halt came in. The stock was halted with news pending. Now, I don't want to be pessimistic here. I don't want to be bearish. But a lot of times when we see these stocks get halted because of news pending, it normally is not good news. It's normally not good, And I'm hoping, I'm praying that this thing opens up and it goes to the moon and everybody who bought it at the 330 area is rich. I hope that happens for you guys. I really do. But 9 out of 10 times, or maybe like 9.9 out of 10 times, when this type of action happens, it's not good. Because one thing happens, what happens here is, let's say when this stock does reopen. Let's say it reopens after hours. They let the news out. You're going to have a couple things happening. You have less volume. You're going to have just less people watching it. You're going to have people who have held the stock all day. So let's say people who bought here at the 240 area. What's the first thing they're going to do when this reopens out of the halt? They're going to be like, I'm selling because I'm trying to get out of it. I want to go and I always want to get out of it. I want to be done. So that's something to think about, the overall mentality, the mental aspect, I guess the emotional aspect of people who bought here at the $2 area. They're just trying to get out because they're already in the green and they want to walk away. Now, the people who bought here at 370, there's a lot of people who bought because look, there's 1.6 million shares traded here. 1.7, 1.37, 1.3, millions of shares traded above this area here between 330 and 380. So if this thing opens up, let's say it opens up and the first thing it does is it gaps down, it pulls down to the $3 area. Everybody who bought up here is going to be dumping and dumping. So now you have all these people as well who are also dumping and dumping. So there's a really good chance that this thing just gets crushed. If it even, whenever it does reopen, there's a really good chance that it gets crushed. Now, there's also, I guess you could say, the bullish idea that if the news comes out that the stock's getting bought out for $15 or something crazy, yeah, maybe there's a pop here. Maybe that happens. And like I said, I'm crossing my fingers that does happen for you guys. I want that to happen. I want you guys to get rich, but I also know that everybody who was watching the live stream, they were all buying when it was below $2. They were all selling for that pop, and that's exactly what they did. I saw people making, some guy made $5,000 a day. Some people made $1,000. Some people made $3,000. Some good profits on BDR today from the live stream, talking about it all morning long. We had it on the radar. Number one stock on the radar on the Gapper scanner. So if you guys haven't tuned in, make sure you tune in tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. We'll be doing it live on YouTube. But right now, that's the news here on BDR, the news of the halts, the news of the move. And again, this is nothing but pure FOMO. If you're stuck in this halt right now, if you bought BDR up here in the 350, 370 area, and you were looking for that break higher, that's nothing but FOMO. Because where were you at when it was $2? Like this, if you were trying to buy the breakout, if you're a momentum style breakout trader, that's your entry all day. And it's not me in hindsight. I don't want to, people are like, well, yeah, you're just looking at the chart now. You're trading. No, it's not about hindsight. It's just the simple technical analysis that this was the first 1 minute candle to make a new high after this pullback. So I know that everyone who's trading that strategy, guess what? They were buying here on that candle. They were getting in there on that candle, and you can see the move. That's why that volume came in there. Overall, off to the races. So BDR, I'm hoping that this thing opens higher, and I'm hoping that everybody saves themselves and everyone's rich. And if you do make millions of dollars from this stock, please remember the little people out there. Remember the little people, you know? Don't be afraid to send me a few mil if you make a couple mil, you know? Just help your brother out. But in general, I just want to remind you guys, this is a pure example of what happens when you trade these very highly volatile stocks. This stock had no news today. This stock squeezed up over 340%. There's something, you got to ask yourself, at what point does it become too risky? At what point does the reward, get overshadowed by the risk? So if you're buying at 370, bam, this thing drops 40 cents on you. It's like, oh my gosh. And then now all of a sudden you're halted and you're stuck in it and you're already down 40 cents and you're sitting there. I'm thinking that most people are sitting there kind of shaking right now, kind of like, if I had 5,000 shares of this stock right now and I was stuck in this halt, I would not be happy. I would definitely not be making the video right now talking about this the way that I am, because first off, this thing was way too overextended. The price action just was way too, just all over the place. Like this, getting the halt here at the $3 level and then pulling all the way down here to 253 and then rallying back. I'm not in love with it. I wasn't in love with it. So BDR, I'm thinking that everybody who was in the live stream ended up buying it much earlier in the day and ended up profiting on it. And then everybody else that chased it is now stuck in it. So FOMO. Don't FOMO. No FOMO. No FOMO. Leave a comment down below writing no FOMO if you did not FOMO. If you're stuck in this trade on BDR, let me know if you bought this, where you bought it at, and where you're stuck at. And I'm just interested to see how many people are actually stuck in this halt right now. BDR halted. Who knows when it's going to reopen? We'll find out. If you guys haven't already, do me one big favor. Hit that like button, the subscribe button, all the buttons down below. I'll talk to you guys later on. Well, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow morning. Be there. Peace.